All right, so this is a step-by-step game plan to go from nothing to financial freedom. If you're within the age range from I would say 18 to 25, you're probably gonna get the most value out of this. If not, I'm sure there's still probably something you'll learn. So without further ado, this video is gonna be about three main things. So the first one is gonna be credit, second is gonna be earning money, and the third is gonna be investing. Now, first things first, build credit early. Why? Credit will allow you to buy a car one day, get a house, and many other things. Credit is extremely important. If you ever want to buy an apartment, lots of them are going to look at your credit score. So, very important. Now, I started early building my credit, and because of that, I now have like a 740 roughly, and it would be even higher. But basically, whenever you take out a new credit card, your credit score takes a hit. So honestly, at this point, I probably would be at like 780, but just from taking out so many different cards, credit score is only at 750. But either way, I just want to show you guys what getting a good credit score. When I say good credit score, I mean credit score in the 700s will allow you to do. So because of this, I was able to travel the world. I was able to get access to education that I otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to get to like be able to pay in full by different things like school groups, Whoop, and many other things. Okay, so now you understand what credit can do for you. This is what you need to do. So if you have no credit at all, step one is going to be to open up a bank account. Now, from there, after you open up a bank account, I then want you to then go to the bank and then tell them, "Hey, I want to open up a secured credit card." Now, what a secured credit card is a special credit card where you give the bank money at first as a deposit. And then from there, the bank then holds your deposit in case you don't pay your bills. Because just think about it like this, right? You have no credibility. These people have no reason to trust you. So, for example, you give them 500, and they'll then say, "Okay, you now have access to a credit line of $500." So that way, from there, if you max out your card and from there you disappear off the face of the planet, guess what? They're not going to be in the red. So there's no risk to them, but it can only help you. Just to reiterate, so they're going to give you a credit card with a limit equal to the amount of money you give. So if you give them $1,000, you'll have $1,000 credit limit. If you give them 500, you'll have a $500 credit limit. And a credit limit is just the most amount of money you can spend. So if you use this responsibly, you'll get your deposit back later and you'll start to build some real credit history. Okay, now, so this is how you use a credit card. So, first things first, keep your utilization below 30%. I don't know exactly why it is this number, but what I notice is whenever you tend to go above 30%, even if you pay the bill in full and you don't carry over balance, your credit score goes down. I'm sorry, guys, but the minimum payment, no. If you can't afford to pay in full, do not buy it. Now, how do you calculate your credit utilization? Super simple. So, what you do is you take your max spend. So, for example, what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out your max spend because we know that if we go over 30% utilization, our credit score is going to most likely go down. And personally, what I found is the lower you can keep your credit utilization, the better. Personally, right now, my credit utilization is 1%, but you got to start somewhere. So, and the reason why it's 1% is because basically what will happen is eventually, as you start to get a higher and higher score, you can get more and more cards. So then when you get more cards, your credit limit just becomes bigger and bigger. So instead of having $1,000, you have 10,000. Instead of having 10,000, you have 50,000. Instead of having 50,000, you have 100,000. And you can see very quickly how easy it is to stay below 1% utilization. So just to go back to where we were, basically how you figure out what's the max amount you can spend on your card, because we want to stay below 30%, you take your credit limit and then multiply that by 0.30, and then that will then tell you how much you can spend before you have to pay off your card. So this is just an example. So let's say this is actually exactly how it was when I got my first card. I put $500 down. So I went to the a little credit union where I live at, gave them $500. Know I had to stay below 30%. So I just did 500 times 30%. And then from there, I knew the most amount of money I could ever spend on that card was $150. If I spent more than 150, I had to pay the card off before I could spend more money on the card. Now, the main points here are you need to pay in full every month. Because this is the thing. Once you start to get to a certain point, you're gonna be able to start to get so many free things from having credit cards. You're gonna be able to get hotel access, lounge access, just getting cash back for money you're already gonna spend. But if you leave interest on your card, you're gonna get screwed. Because how it works is interest is you're paying because whenever you're taking out credit, you're taking out a small loan. You're borrowing money. So and guess what, guys? If you don't pay that loan, you're gonna have to pay interest. So we never ever want to carry over a balance because we want to pay zero interest. Anyone that tells you that says, "Oh yeah, but if you pay a small amount of interest, it helps your credit," that's BS. Okay. The only thing that matters is pay that bill off. Do not give the bank any money if you don't have to. Tell them, trusting me. So never leave a balance. Pay in full every month. Okay, now I just want to show you guys real quickly my personal credit journey. Truth be told, this isn't every card I've ever had because we wouldn't have time for this. This video would be like an hour if I were to tell you about every credit card. I just want to kind of give you a quick rundown. So, like I mentioned, I started off with a secured card. So what I did is I went to a credit union. They tend to have better rates and they're a lot easier to just get along with. From there, I went to a credit union, started to build some trust, open a secure card. Then from there, I then open up the Discover It card. The Discover It card is hands down, I think, the best beginner card ever. They're really good because when you first join, you can get like zero interest for your first 15 months. And then from there, you get 5% cash back on rotating categories. For a starting card that has no annual fee, that's insanity. By the way, guys, what an annual fee is for some premium cards, you have to pay to have the card. But through credits, it ends up paying for itself. I'm not going to go in a ton in these credit cards because there's a ton, but you then have the Freedom Unlimited. I'm sorry, you have the Freedom Unlimited and the Freedom Flex. I got the Unlimited first, and then I got the Flex. These guys, dude, these cards are crazy. No annual fee, and they have sign-on bonuses. So I think it's after you spend $500 in, I believe, 3 months, which I'm spending $500 like a month anyway, you get $200 worth of points, I believe it is, or cashback. I don't remember, but that's what I mean. It's like it's just crazy. It's been a while since I got these cards, but yeah. So then from there, I then end up getting the Amex Gold. That's just my food card. I'll make an entire video about that in the future. All I'm going to say is it's a great travel card. Then from there, I end up getting the Business Blue Plus because, as you know, I am a business owner. So I needed to start buying things on a business card so I could separate my personal expenses from my uh, business expenses. And then from there, finally, right now, I'm in the process of getting the Amex Platinum. Right now, I'm just trying to get taken off the no offers list for Amex, but I should be good in the next, I believe, probably 2 months. Then I'll be able to finally get this platinum card because I got a lot of traveling coming up. But that is my personal credit journey. And now, how long does it take is the question. Well, what you're going to start to learn is after you're going to start to hear about the magic of credit cards. I would say once you get to month 6, that's when you can start to get some good cards. The Freedom Unlimited, Freedom Flex are really great cards, considering they have no annual fee. So I would recommend great cards after about 6 months. I usually every 3 months I applied for a new card, and I'm not going to go into the logistics of that right now, but just so you can get an idea of the timeline. And also, I was going to say too, after 1 year, I was able to apply for the MX Gold. So when it comes to getting a premium card, if you do things how I did, within about 9 months to a year, you should be able to get a really good card. Now, let's talk about the cash, the dinero. So you can start looking at these guys. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a millionaire yet, but this is what I learned from all the different courses and coaching, and just obviously online university. When I say online university, I mean YouTube University, and of course, like my millionaire friends. So, but before we get to that, um, I just want to talk about before we talk about how to earn more money. I want to talk about how most people get stuck. Now, at a normal job, someone else decides how much money you make, right? Now, there's pros and cons to both, like doing your own thing and then being with somebody else. But this is how it works: is your raises, promotions, and opportunities, they're out of your control, man. So even if you work harder, you don't always get paid more. You don't always get that promotion because it's not always recognized. But this is another thing too, because I hate when people say, "Oh, you need to stop trading your time for money." That's BS, guys. This is reality. You're always trading your time for money. We're just trying to get more for the time we spent. Okay. Now, if I want to also add this, because there's a lot of hate on the internet when it comes to jobs. If you have a good job, great, keep it. But I just want to say this: I would highly recommend you to just do whatever you can get the most amount of leverage doing. What leverage it means is essentially we put in the same amount of effort or less effort, except for we get bigger returns. That's the whole point of the game, is to do the least amount of work possible and get the highest returns possible. I just want to tell you a little bit about side hustles, and then we'll kind of move on. So the reason why I like side hustles is because Number one, the goal of a side hustle is not to be a side hustle forever. It's to eventually replace whatever you've been doing currently for to generate all your income. Assuming you have a job. So if you have a job that you don't like, hopefully one day after a couple years, your side hustle will become your main thing and you'll be able to quit your job. Like I mentioned, a side hustle, what it's really about is just giving you control over your income in your future. Now, when it comes to high income skills, there's a ton of them. Feel free to look up anything, but these are just some of the big ones. I'm a salesman, or at least I was. So obviously I got sales on here. Pretty much any kind of sales. It technically is a job, but this is the thing. You write your own check. You get paid off commission. I know salesmen making $500,000 a year. I know salesmen making $1 million a year. I don't know any doctors making that kind of money. I'm sure there are, but even the doctors I know, they're making, maybe 300, 400, and that's good. But dude, these guys are in their 20s making half a million. Some of them are making a million. That's absurdity with just a job. This is not even a business. But just for example, you have sales. Then from there, of course, my baby, you have day trading. It's not for everybody, but it is a high income skill. You then have e-commerce, AI. AI is taken off. If you can figure out anything you can do with AI, really, I think the best thing to do is if you can leverage these things together. If you can leverage, for example, if you can put AI with e-commerce, with day trading, or with sales, if you can somehow figure out a way to intertwine AI with all these things, you'll be stupid successful. And it's one of the things I'm trying to figure out how to do now, but one thing at a time. So, anyways, we then have things like digital marketing. It's starting off like a personal brand, social media. It's not going anywhere. And yeah, but with all that being said, though, I would say this is the most important thing. Master one skill, not all of them at once. I'm telling you, I wish somebody would have told me this sooner because I think about it all the time. I think I even have a video on my channel called How I Lost $1 Million. And long story short, what the entire video was about was just basically what I like to call like the rule of one. Just focus on one thing. Like seriously. Because the best way I can explain it is this, right? I actually say this in the video too. But imagine you have two people. So they both are responsible for learning a language and they have 4 weeks. So at the end of the day, we're going to see who's made the most progress at the end of the 4 weeks. So this is person A. Person A is learning German 1 week, French the next, Spanish the next, and then Russian the last week. And then you have another guy, which is person B. And for the entire 4 weeks, he only learned Spanish. And then at the end of the month, they ask the guy, okay, I want you to take this assessment on Spanish. I want to see who knows more. And guess who knows more? Obviously the guy who only studied Spanish for an entire month. Yet for some reason, when it comes to businesses, people think, oh, I'm going to try. And I used to be the same way. I'm going to try drop shipping for a couple months. Then if that doesn't work, I'll then do affiliate marketing. And then if that doesn't work, I'll then do carpet cleaning. And then if that doesn't work, I'll then do, I don't know, I'll sell chandeliers. That's exactly what people have been doing. That's exactly what I've been doing. I've been doing that forever. I've been going from thing to thing to thing to thing. And I do think that's important because it allows you to realize what you like. But what I will say is this. If I would have just stuck with one thing, I think I would have been a hell of a lot further than what I am now. Because instead of, I would have had, 5 years of experience with that thing. And by this point, I probably would have been a freaking master in that thing. So what I'm saying is, please, for the love of God, once you figure out what you like, just double down and just focus on it. And I'm telling you, do not quit. Just keep on going. This is like I mentioned, you only need one skill. This is something that people always get confused. I think it's because there's this big, misconception that it's like rich people have multiple streams of income. But one thing no one ever talks about, they never talk about how these guys became rich. All these guys became rich from one thing. Then they diversified. If they diversified, I'm telling you, just pick one thing, then worry about diversification. Okay. Now, like I said, this is not from me. This is from my buddies that are doing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year. So just please, just trust me. Just please, just trust me. That's what they told me, and I've been trusting them, and that's been working out pretty good. So you only need one skill, and it will change your income forever. I just want to give you an example because I didn't do sales for a long time, but I just want to show you this. So I used to be, I used to work at Chipotle, and at Chipotle, I was making about $16 an hour. And then I did sales. Basically, for my first, 4 months of sales, I didn't make a single dollar, not one. And then from there, I got into high ticket sales, and I went from making no money at all to $30 an hour, adjusted for how much I was working. $30 an hour at, I think at the time I was 18. That's pretty freaking good, man. And that was only after a couple months of sales. I can't even imagine how far I would have been in, a couple of years. But yeah, so, and then I just want to show you guys this because this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. And this exact thing I've gotten stuck on forever. So I don't remember exactly the word of this, but basically I feel like this is the cycle of every single side hustler slash entrepreneur. So what happens is when you first hear about an opportunity, for example, this is how I was with door-to-door sales. When I first heard about it, I was like, I had uninformed optimism, like, oh my God, I'm gonna become a millionaire. This is gonna be so easy. All I gotta do is knock on doors, tell people that they're gonna be able to pay less for a bill that they're never gonna cancel anyway. This will be a piece of cake. Then from there, I then became informed pessimistic. I was like, ugh. I'm like, yeah, man, I see this definitely gonna be a lot harder than I thought. And then from there, I never got past this part, but and then informed optimism. You're like, damn, this is really hard, but I'm like, I'm right there. I just need to stick with it. And then from there, you then get completion. But this is what's happening to most people, including myself. We get, in the beginning, when we first hear about opportunity, we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then we get down to informed pessimism, and then we quit. But if we would have just stuck a little bit longer, we would have got to here, and eventually we would have completed the cycle. Until eventually you then have the next goal and you go through the cycle all over again. But yeah. Now, I want to acknowledge the elephant in the room because I know this can sound overwhelming and I can understand that. But realistically, I just want to tell you this because I wish someone really told me this. Just give it 2 years of focused effort and you'll be amazed at what you accomplish. Now, also, just I can talk about like a little bit how this all makes sense now. Okay, so trading is one of the things I've been literally trading since 2020. So it's been about 5 years, and I'm starting to finally see traction. But it took 5 years. But now, no, you're wrong. It wasn't all focused. But my point is, I think the real reason why day trading has been working out is because I've been sticking with it on such a longer time horizon compared to everything else. And I think at the end of the day, if you were to really just give something 2 years of focused effort, and when I say focus, I mean meticulously having a routine. Like every single day, I'm going to do this, like blocking time out over a long period of time. That is will compound massively. Now, this is just a possible schedule. If you have a 9 to 5, this is gonna sound extreme, but if you want to become free, you're gonna have to do extremes. And I know it sounds crazy, but believe it or not, I kind of do this every day because I think you guys forget I am a full-time college student, and I was working 40 hours a week, but now I'm a day trader. So, conversation for different. Long story short, this is a possible schedule if you have a 9 to 5. Okay, so you wake up at 5 a.m. and then from there, from 5 to 8, you just focus on your business or your side hustle, and then from there, at 8, you get ready, go to work. Okay, you get there at 9, right? Then you go to 5. Sorry, then you work from 9 to 5, get out at 5. From there, let's just say it takes you an hour to get home. Do whatever you got to do with your family. And then once it hits, for example, 8 o'clock to 11, work on your business. And then go to bed and do that all over again. That's 6 hours a day of you working on your main thing. And then from there, you're at work for about 8 hours. So you're working about, 14 hours a day. Does that suck? Yes. But it's what you got to do to get ahead. And even if you don't want to do this, instead of doing nothing on the weekends and saying weekends are for relaxing, just work. Work on your business on the weekend. Literally, you could work 10 hours on the weekend. So 10 hours on Saturday, 10 hours on Sunday. Just right there, you got 20 hours of your business. And then from there, you won't even have to work on your business during the week if you don't want to. I'm telling you, if you do that, you will be amazed at how far you get. And I know this sounds crazy, but what door to door really taught me is you will never know how much effort you have to put into something until you are putting in all this effort and you're doing all you know you can possibly do, but you're not seeing any results. Now, when you're doing that, that is when you are on the brink of success. So I'm telling you, with my trading for years, I've been seeing no traction at all. And then recently, what door taught me how to work. And then I started being so much more intense, so much more like diligent. And I'm telling you, from putting in that same amount of effort I was in sales and trading, it's been absolutely exponential. And then from there, we then have investing. Okay. So I want to talk about this too. Please, 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 for the love of God, stop investing into things like long-term investments. I think they're great, but you're far better off investing into your knowledge, into your skill set, than you are into things like index funds. Now, hear me out. We've been programmed our entire lives to go to school, right? Get a good job and die, essentially. It's pretty much what we've been taught. Now, as horrible as that is, because I think that's hell, there is some good in that statement. And that is this. That is it. What does it say? It says go to school, get an education, get a good job. What's the main core there? Get an education. Guys, this is a reality. The more education you have, typically, the more money you're gonna make. That's just data. So what that means is, what if we just get more education in high income skills? Okay, see how this trying to connect? So what are the high income skills again? We have things like sales and like day trading, for example, e-commerce, AI, digital marketing, film. These are just some of them. There's an endless supply of things. I don't give a shit if you are went to law school. You want to be I don't know. That's probably a bad example. So I don't know. We'll just say, for example, you work a construction worker. So you've been a construction worker for years. What's something that's higher leverage? Well, instead of just working at a construction place, I could open up my own construction business. Now, I understand the effort. I mean, the walls to open up your own construction company is very high. But the point is, we just want to do whatever can give us the most amount of leverage. The reality is, if we're going to be working 40 hours a week, what can we do that will compound more long term? Because the real problem with jobs is not that working at a job is bad, but just because there's not much compound potential. So, but this is what I personally invest into just so you can get kind of a general idea. Now, first things first, most important thing I've ever invested into, hands down, was coaching. And also, just to go back into this, there's this thing that Alex Ramosi ended up saying, and I think he said it beautifully. And he said, stop investing into the S&P 500 and start investing in the S&Me 500. The S&P 500 grows an average of 8% a year, right? But I'm telling you, if you guys, I will smoke the S&P 500 every single year. I can easily get a return more than 8% just by focusing on increasing my high and by increasing my skill set. Because the reality is, your skill set will always be more valuable than the S&P 500 ever will be when it comes to your life. Now, when it comes to things to invest into, so you can become higher skilled, so you can increase the amount of cash you make, so you can just become overall a better person, I think you need to start off with investing in coaching. Now, first start first. I put a ton of money into things like online courses, but this is the problem with online courses. Online courses are great, but eventually you reach the point where you're like, well, there's questions I have in the online course, but they can't be answered. So that's when you have to seek out coaching. So I think really the best way to do it is first, obviously, start off free. So go on YouTube, look up a bunch of the stuff you can possibly learn for free. And then from there, you're then going to start to reach the point where you're like, well, I have a lot of information now, but I need a structured plan. So then you're going to want an online course. And then after that, you're then going to have all these questions and then go to coaching. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I've had bad coaches. I've had good coaches. And I will tell you this, for all the bad coaches I've had, the one good coaches, the small handful of good coaches I've had, have made up for all the bad coaching I've had. Because when you have someone that can tell you what to do, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel in a well articulated way, it's so much. You guys, you don't even understand how much faster you progress. I thought I was making a lot of progress in trading. Then I got a trading coach. Oh my goodness, the amount of like bounds and leaps I made in this short period of time is insanity. It's funny too because I've been trading now for years, and there's this guy that's really been trading for less than 2 months, and he knows just as much as me, just because he got the right information from day one. So please, 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 for the love of God, don't be cheap. Invest in yourself. Because guys, the one thing you can never get back is time. So don't waste it. You can always make more money. And then from there, we then have books. I love books. They're great. Kind of sound like Trump for a second. I love books. They're great. I love American books. But anyways, so these books, I've read hundreds of books, guys. I can just talk about books all day. But all I'm saying is there's no excuse not to read. Because for example, if you don't like reading, there's audiobooks. If you don't like audiobooks, there's these little things like there's apps that will basically summarize a book, so you don't have to read the whole thing, but you can get the main point. There's what you can watch YouTube videos about the book. Just my point is, just it doesn't matter how you get the information, just get the information. That's what I'm saying. From there, I then do put up a small percentage of my income into stocks and bonds, gym membership, just to be healthy. and food. Now, I want to talk about this for a second. I'm trying not to preach, but there was this lady I knew. She was a lawyer, and she said that all she ever wanted to do was make more money, want to make more money, make more money. And then but she always neglected her health. And then she ended up just really getting unlucky, and she ended up contracting cystic fibrosis. And her mind completely shifted. She went from wanting more money to just wanting more time with her son. So I say that to say that even though this entire video has been about really money, the only thing that matters is our health. Like, don't get me wrong, yes, her making more money allows her to get access to better healthcare. Is that true? Of course. But the reality is, guys, if you have your health, you have nothing. What good is it if you have $1 billion if you can't even enjoy it? You can't even walk. You can't even feed yourself. Just think about that. So seriously, if you don't know where to start with your health. Because I'm even telling you from personal experience, I've had times where I thought, something horrible is going to happen to me. Or, for example, I almost went blind one time. And gives you so much gratitude. Because you really do realize that the only thing that really matters at the end of the day are the things that money can't buy. It can definitely help you get it, but it can't buy it. It can't buy a new body. Which also brings me to the last point, which is invest in the quality food. Invest in your health, please, please, please. If you feel better, you are by default going to make more money because you're going to have more energy. You're going to be able to be more productive. You're going to be more dominant. And I want to say congratulations for making it to the end of this video. I know this kind of was long, but I'm now going to tell you the real secret. And that is, the secret is none of this works unless you take action. None of this works unless you take action. Because, guys, I'm going to tell you this. Please do not get caught in the cycle. I used to be this person for the longest time. Where you start to tell yourself, oh, no. All I need is more information. Then I'll start my business. Just start. Because I'm telling you, the best way to learn is through execution. Because what happens is, you're going to realize, you're going to think that you know everything. And then you're going to start and you're going to realize you don't know shit. But once you realize what you don't know, then you can start to learn. And I know that sounds crazy, but you just have to take my word for it because I've had experience in almost everything I've done. I thought I was the master. I'm like, oh my God, I've watched all this. I've read all these books. I've read all these courses. I know exactly what to do now. But the reality is, guys, this is one of the things I want to really make clear. There is no coach. There is no course. There is no book that's going to make you successful. But what it will do is it will speed up the learning process because it will give you the information you need in order to succeed. But at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to really get you to where you want to go is hard work and putting in massive amounts of effort. Now, this is not, no, this is the red pill, guys. This isn't the blue pill. If you guys want to get out of the matrix, I hate to say that, but it's kind of the truth. If you guys want to become free, you're going to have to take the red pill. And I'm not going to lie, I feel like I haven't reached a point where I'm truly out, but I know on the path I'm going on, I'll be out of this bitch in no time.